is Caroline. Hi, my name is Caroline Tucker, and I am from Danville, Virginia, which is on the border of North Carolina and Virginia, if you're wondering. And I am unofficially a double major in music and human services, which I hope to somehow combine the two and use music to get to people who over barriers, because music reaches everybody. And I'm taking this class to learn more about human services because I don't know a lot and I'm excited to learn more. I've never taken an online class before, so this is all new to me, but I'm really excited and a little nervous. So I worked at a camp this summer, Caroline Furnace Lutheran Camp, and at camp it's a Christian camp, and we just explore God's creation outside through canoeing and creek walking and hiking and just singing and praising His name. But one of the weeks of the summer, we have kids from the inner city of Roanoke come, which is exciting, but it's also really rough and tough on the counselors. These kids are from really rough backgrounds and neighborhoods in Roanoke, and the social workers bring them to camp, and they're the people that get this together. But most of the time, a list is provided of kids who are going to come, but then we have 30 kids more, because most of the time parents just drop the kids off and the social workers bring them, but the parents never sign them up. Basically, it's just a way to get rid of them for the week, which is not the reason you should come to camp, but we're happy to have them. It's also a difficult week because many of the campers act out, mostly for attention, because it's not just like having a spoiled camper who acts out and does something wrong and you're like, don't do that again. But instead, they act out, and if you tell them not to do it again, they'll do something even worse, even harsher, just to get attention. And so I quickly saw that instead of paying attention to what they do wrong when they act out, pay attention to things that they do well. For example, helping somebody out, or maybe just complimenting them on how they look that day, or complimenting them on helping somebody hold their backpack without asking. These were all things that I complimented, and I saw that when I did this, when they acted out, it started decreasing, because I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on the good things. And I sort of found that it sort of goes with, in the book, in chapter 1, we're talking about strengths and focusing on your client's strengths, sort of focusing on the good things that the campers were doing, and then their outcomes were positive and not negative. Also, the most difficult thing I found working with these campers was many showed signs of sexual abuse. Some signs are acting out, but also wetting themselves. In the night, these campers were 4th through 6th graders, and so it's not normal for 4th through 6th graders to wet themselves. And I had almost half of my cabin, which is a cabin was 10 girls, so about 5 girls wet themselves every night. And that was very concerning, but we couldn't do anything really unless the campers came and talked to us and told us what happened. And we could tell the social worker what we've seen, and we did, but they couldn't really do much of anything, because they too had already seen these signs and were looking out, but couldn't do anything until these children talked. And that was really difficult, to have to sit back and watch it and do nothing other than love the campers. And that's one reason why I want to learn more about human services and get involved, so I can maybe help more one day. I also had campers at meal times steal food and put them in their pockets or their book bags, because they weren't used to having consistent meals, and I had to promise the campers that we would have lunch or we would have dinner that day, so that they wouldn't steal the food. And I got to thinking that, like, yes, the kids get food at school, but do they get food on the weekends? If they don't have summer school or in some program during the summer, are they provided food consistently? And the answer is probably not, which is awful and is definitely a need for these children. It's a basic need. Also, these children showed signs of neglectment. For example, I told my campers that I loved them, and one of my campers cried and told me that she'd never heard somebody tell her that they loved her before, and that is concerning and sad. So, thinking outside of camp and what these campers go through on a normal daily basis, their needs, they definitely need a home. They need food, they need an education, and I think most importantly, they need somebody to care for them. They need somebody to, be a good role model and to show them the right way, but also to provide these basic needs like shelter and food and water, and to teach them how to be independent and self-sufficient when they grow up. Because many of these campers are on the track of their parents, and their parents are not self-sufficient. And so they need somebody to be a role model to them. That sort of hints at the challenges that they face. I think the biggest challenge that these campers face is the environment that they grow up in. I had many campers talk about inappropriate topics such as sex, and I didn't know really what that was in 4th grade. I probably still thought that storks brought me to the front door of my house. And that was really concerning to me. Also, that these kids fought a lot. We had a lot of fights that we had to break up. And I just got me thinking, like, have they grown up seeing their parents or older kids that they admire get in fights, and so they think that is the way to handle conflict? And so just having this environment makes it hard for them to find somebody to look up to in the right way to live a successful, self-sufficient life. So as far as cares under the Human Services Network that these kids may receive, they do all have social workers, because social workers are the people that brought them to camp, and they all have a file with the social worker. But most of them do receive housing from the government, and probably have, or at one point received childcare, somebody to watch them. They all should receive an education. The parents probably receive welfare to work and possibly substance abuse and rehabilitation. So this is one experience that got me interested in human services, and I'm excited to learn more about it and about all different other populations and areas that human services works with. Bye!